And therefore, I ask you to help me once more, the way you have done before. Let me indicate that we want to hit the clarion call for the President to continue to work harmoniously with the media. The Government Republic of Zambia, under the new Dawn administration, reaffirms its commitment to a free press and independent media. We want to indicate that we shall retain the editorial independence of public broadcasters as they go about informing and educating the citizens. We want to reassure you that no media house shall be infringed upon as you carry out your day-to-day work. No media house shall be closed as we have seen before. Even at the height of political pressure, even when some media houses will carry screaming headlines against the New Dawn administration, no media house should feel threatened. And I also want to indicate here that I have lifted a moratorium that I had placed on one or two media houses, those that have a habit of reporting negatives about the UPND and New Dawn administration, that when they called me as party spokesperson, they were just calling me to launder a story which is already skewed in the direction against the UPND. And I had informed them that I've stopped picking your cause, I've stopped responding to you, I've now lifted that moratorium, because in this space where I am now, I'm no longer partisan. So anything that comes, if it injures my emotions as a partisan person, I should not transmit the same to this podium, which is national and non-partisan. So, Daily Nation, call me after this, I'll respond. They are my friends, so I'm free to mention. They are my friends. So, we want to reiterate government's commitment in widening the democratic space of the citizens through free expression and speech as enshrined in our Constitution. And for that to be attained, the fourth estate, the media, is key. And we do view you as developmental partners in the mission and agenda of transforming the livelihoods of our citizens for better. Every step of the way that government makes in its endeavor to transform this country for better, we want to walk with you all the way. And let me be public about it, that His Excellency the President has indicated that wherever he goes, wherever the vice president goes, wherever ministers and government officials go to perform public functions for and on behalf of the people of this country, the private media should not be left behind. P.S. From now on, let us ensure that wherever the president goes, wherever government officials go to perform public functions, we should facilitate for the private media to be in attendance. They are private, but we will facilitate for them because they are performing a public function. And I also want to indicate that all media platforms, including social media players, are free to attend all government functions at State House and anywhere else. We in this ministry would like to indicate that we are going to run an open door policy where the media will be at liberty to get in touch with us, to call us anytime, for us to give them responses on their queries. There shall be no need for an appointment for you to come and ask us issues pertaining to the nation and governance of the same. Anytime. And we'll also be expecting that you'll be available, not just to ask us questions, but to give us information on what you think we need to relay to the nation as vehicles for transmission of information to the citizens. I'm very clear in my mind that the best newsmakers are actually yourselves, because you know what matters at a given time. You know what the nation needs to know. So we are available to work hand in glove with yourselves. Let me now speak about a few issues. And number one, the government, Republic of Zambia, under the New Dawn administration, is elated with the report that has come out of the Auditor General for the fiscal year 2022. The Auditor General's report has brought a sigh of relief to government and the citizens of this country. For a very first time in a long time, the Auditor General's report has posted and reported decreases in abuses, misappropriations, misapplications, and wasteful expenditure of public resources. And I've been a member of public accounts at Parliament for 10 years. This is the first time when the Auditor General has given a report indicating decreases in abuses of public resources. This, therefore, is living testament that the president is walking the talk when he promised prudent utilization of public resources. And also, this is an indication that the crusade against corruption is gaining traction. It shows that the leadership posture the president has portrayed to the nation is beginning to mirror and reflect itself in the way public service workers treat public resources and opportunities. We therefore want to thank the controlling officers, the permanent secretaries in various ministries and spending agencies of government for ensuring that the presidential call to duty to ensuring that public resources are utilized in a prudent manner has been heeded to. We also want to commend the public service workers, the civil servants, for being good tag team players with the leadership of government, ensuring that we are pulling in one direction. This is what the people of this country voted for in 2021 when they voted for change and when they resisted that public resources should be a preserve of a limited clique of individuals, that public resources should be for public use so that the intended beneficiaries, particularly the vulnerable, the poor, may benefit from the resource envelope of the nation. It is from this kind of prudence that the New Dawn administration is able and capable of continuing to provide free education, continuing to provide, having retained meal allowances to students at public universities. It is these savings that have allowed the government to pay off retirees. It is these savings that has allowed the government to reduce the waiting time of retirees being paid from years, decades, with a target now that by the end of 2024, a retiree will be paid on time as they leave their work station. That is the trajectory of this administration. And that is what the people of Zambia wanted. This is the change the people wanted. This is the change that the people of this country want to continue to progress, because on that trajectory, we can all as citizens begin to envisage or envision a better Zambia for all. We begin to see ourselves hand over to the next generation a better Zambia than the one we inherited. That is why all well-meaning citizens need to support the work and effort being put together by President Hakainde Hichilema. This is a president who is doing things that even some of us who have worked with him for many years, sometimes we begin to get surprised that, oh, so we did not know we can go to these lengths. And we are happy to have such a president. And I think many Zambians are happy. Just like the region and the continent is happy. This is what Zambia should be. But there is a lot more work to be done because of where we find ourselves today. The Auditor General's report has indicated that funds misappropriated have reduced from 5.1 million in 2021 to a paltry 135,000 in 2022. New Dawn administration. The Auditor General's report has also indicated a reduction from 139 billion to 103 billion in 2022 on audit queries. New Dawn administration. The Auditor General's report has also indicated a reduction by 98% in terms of overpayments. From 659 million in 2021 to 10 million in 2022. The Auditor General's report has also indicated a reduction in failure to follow procurement procedures from 489 million to 660,000 in 2022. The report has also indicated that in terms of loss of public funds, there has been a humongous reduction from 516 million to a bare 54,000 in 2022. And I'm speaking as a citizen myself. I think this is the kind of government I want myself as a citizen. And I believe many citizens want this kind of government. And the president has told me that he, as an individual, as president of the Republic of Zambia, whereas as his lieutenants are happy with this record, he says he is not happy. He wants zero queries. He wants zero misappropriation. He wants zero misapplication. He has a zero tolerance posture to wastage of public resources. That is his message to the nation. That is his direction. This report shows progress in the right direction. And we are very confident as government that come 2023, report, it should be better going forward. We cannot afford the luxury of the thuggery of plundering public resources when the majority of our citizens are wallowing in poverty. Let me also take this opportunity to indicate that the President of the Republic of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema, is satisfied with the regional engagements he is performing in fostering economic integration, of the region. And that is why yesterday he performed a trip to the Democratic Republic of Congo to go and officially jointly launch the Kasomena-Mwenda road bridge project. The government is very clear that once that bridge and the road are constructed, that is a huge opportunity to expand trade and exports from this country into the DRC and the region. DRC has already demonstrated that Zambia needs to up its production because they are a ready market in terms of our agro produce. And to expand that opportunity, infrastructure is key. And that is why the President performed that trip yesterday, and it is a trip that was intended to add value to the economics of the country and the region. We want to recognize that that particular project was, in terms of MOU, agreed upon by the previous administration of the Patriotic Front, and that the job of the New Dawn administration is to carry on to execute and implement all those programs that were initiated by our predecessors and left on ice, and bring them to actualization. Government is a going concern. There are no projects of PF, there are no projects of New Dawn administration, there are projects of governments, because the funds that fund those projects are public funds, taxpayers' funds. And so, the government Republic of Zambia is expected to expend 180 million kwacha in terms of that road bridge project. Once completed, it is expected that it will ease transport connectivity into DRC and the region, provides also an opportunity for the people of this country in Luapula and Northern Province to engage in more production and productivity of our agro products, such as maize. So that is an opportunity. We expect as government that it will translate its spin-off benefits to our people. It is also expected that through that project, it will cut or reduce the cost of transportation of goods and services from Nakonde into DRC. All those trucks that would come into this country through Nakonde and have to traverse into Kapiriposhi will now have an easier way out. So the government is elated to be part of that transformative project for the region. Let me also now deal with one issue, because one of you had already called me in the morning. Say Socialist Party have said they are going ahead with their rally or meeting with or without police giving a go-ahead. The position of government is that we want to urge the opposition at all times to play by the rules of law. The laws currently subsisting in this country are the laws that have been in existence. This administration presently is actively involved in the pursuit of the amendment of the Public Order Act, and from the business of Parliament that was announced when Parliament opened this particular session, the Public Order Act is one of those acts of Parliament or bills that are at the doorsteps of Parliament. Therefore, in terms of the law is what it is and not what it ought to be. Meaning, presently, the law has to apply as it is until such a time when amendments can be effectuated. We therefore urge our colleagues to work in harmony with law enforcing agencies who have a clear mandate of maintaining law and order. They are a going concern who outlive the political leadership of the country. This is the same police. Therefore, we do not expect as government that once police have indicated through their discretion that a particular event may not take place, that a section of our citizens or the opposition should take the law in their own hands in a calculated maneuver of trying to portray an image that the government of the day is clamping down on the human rights of its citizens. That is not our intention. That is not our intention. We have also received information that some opposition wants to perform a demonstration against what they are calling against the cost of living on the 18th of October 2023, on the very day of national prayers and reconciliation. as government, we have received this message with consternation and shock that the opposition can opt to perform a demonstration on the day that the nation has set aside to commemorate and epitomize Zambia being a Christian nation. That is a day for reconciliation. And quite honestly, what is the logic of demonstrating against the cost of living as though the government Republic of Zambia under the New Dawn administration has done any one thing to foster the cost of living to go up? A demonstration would make sense if government had put in certain measures or policies that can be attributable to the rise in the cost of living, in the cost of the price of minimum, and the price of fuel. We all know that the price of fuel is triggered by the oil producing countries determining the price at which they will sell. We are 100% wholly dependent on imported fuel. And so when they adjust the price at international level, we are recipients of whatever the consequence, being positive or negative, of the fuel adjustment at international level. And the government is working rounds to try and find better mechanisms of stabilizing fuel pricing, which includes bulk purchasing and storage for a much more longer period of time to assure availability and stability of fuel and fuel prices. But that is something which cannot be done overnight, because bulk buying entails capacity for storage, which currently is not sufficient. And so the government is already looking into that direction and putting effort in that direction. And I can confirm here that the private sector has already come on board to begin to put infrastructure to expand the carriage and storage capacity for fuel for much more longer period to attain stability. The Minister of Finance on Friday did in fact make a call to the private sector to come on board to expand the carriage capacity of fuel from Dar es Salaam to Zambia, that the private sector can come and build an oil pipeline So the government is not just seated and doing nothing. The government is working within the available resource envelope and opportunities available. These some people who are talking about performing a demonstration on the cost of living, the price of fuel. They should have the decency, when they are talking about the price of fuel, to indicate to the nation that as of August 2021, when they were leaving office, they did not just leave political office. They also left behind a huge crippling local and international debt. But in this particular vein, left a debt of more than 700 million United States dollars owed to oil marketing companies who were supplying fuel without the government paying them, which this new Dawn administration is now dismantling. They should have that decency. When they call for subsidies, they should also be mindful that whereas that call may be a popular call, currently this government is chained to a contractual obligation of paying off that debt, failure to which the creditors the government owes, that more than 700 million US dollars in fuel, actually are at liberty to stop supplying, which will worsen off the situation. That is the reality of the moment. And the government, when deciding which options on the table to implement, is mindful that there is an urgent matter of continuing to dismantle the fuel debt to OMCs so that they continue to supply, rather than talk about a subsidy when you are owing. You want to talk about subsidizing consumption when the product which you want to subsidize can actually not be delivered to you. These are realities. And that is why the new Dawn administration is running an open society governance system, open government. People should know the truth. You cannot create debt, you leave the fuel sector in tatters, then you go outside and start chanting slogans to say, let us demonstrate. Who do they want to demonstrate against? They want to demonstrate against what they left. Does that make sense? It doesn't. So when we do politics as well in politics, let us be mindful that citizens out there are reasonable beings. They are able to see. When we are in the opposition, there are many things that we saw government do which we did not agree with. The cost of living is not a new phenomenon. When we were in the opposition, there were times when the cost of living was beyond the threshold of affordability by many citizens. What we did, we never advocated for or called for a demonstration. We prescribed solutions. That is what we did. There are a lot of atrocities and hideous acts that the government were involved in. Gassing of the nation, violence, killings, shootings by cadres, by police, of citizens. We did not advocate for a demonstration. We provided solutions. What solutions are our colleagues in the opposition prescribing? None. And it is understandable because the largest opposition political party in this country have a stained record. Their hands are dripping with blood because of the people they killed using police and using their cadres. They have a tainted record of violence and corruption, plunder of national resources, and acts of cadreism, thuggery, hooliganism, and impunity. That is why they cannot occupy any higher moral ground to be the right voice for the people of Zambia. They can't. They still have a lot to account and explain to the people of Zambia before they can talk about anything. The rebranding which they are talking about, before they talk about rebranding, they need to talk about repentance first. So we invite them on the 18th to join in the day of national prayers, and they should use this opportunity to pray for forgiveness for the many atrocities they committed. And they know it. Unlike us, when we were in the opposition, we had no record of theft. We had no record of violence. We had no record of abuse of public resources. We had no record of burning money when citizens are suffering. We had no record of cadres storming public institutions. We had no record of turning graduates into cadres, into commandos, instead of providing jobs for them. We had a clean record. That is why we were speaking confidently, and that is why the people of Zambia used us as a vehicle for change. We want to encourage political parties like Citizens First of my brother Honorable Kalaba, the party for Madam Sharakateka, and others that have no record of violence and corruption, that have no record of hate speech, tribal division, to step up their work, because they are the ones we think have the moral right to speak for the people of Zambia, and also to take over from the UPND at such a time when the people of this country will decide so. We should never, as a country, look back and begin to give consideration of hope to political scammers like PF. PF are political scammers. What is it in the 2 years of New Dawn administration? They have seen and said they will do better that they did not do in 10 years of being in office. A scammer will lie to you about an opportunity and tell you, just send money in this account, I'll find you a job. there is this opportunity, send the money to this account. The moment you send that money, they switch off. Unreachable. PF were unreachable when they were in government. So they are not the right people to make the noises they are making. Instead of telling the nation the day they will go to their convention so that they have a mandate to speak on behalf of their party and the nation, they are talking about demonstrations. They can go ahead. The people of Zambia know this economic situation we find ourselves today is not the making of this administration. It has been an existential situation for a long time. And that is why the president and his administration have gone ahead to put in place robust measures to redress the situation and regress the poverty in this country. And that's why you have seen that on Friday, the Minister of Finance presented a forward-looking budget, one that is intended to deal with the challenges of the moment sustainably. The 2024 budget is not a quick fix budget. It is a budget that is cognizant of the fact that we are moving from economic recovery to economic stability and now economic progress through economic transformation agenda. That is what this budget is all about. And that is why incrementally and progressively the budget is reflecting employment for public service workers. 4,200 teachers to be recruited in 2024. 1,200 related staff to be recruited in the Ministry of Education, totaling 5,400 recruitments in just one Ministry of Education, which is presently recruiting 3,500 teachers. When did we last hear of these statistics? In the last 12 years. In the entire 10 years of their administration, they recruited just 2,300 teachers. 10 years. New Dawn administration in just 2 years has recruited more than 50,000 public service workers. Transparently, without discrimination, without nepotism, without favoritism, without political inclination. Academic qualification is taking preeminence to political connection. This is a Zambia we wanted, all of us. We're also mindful that there are so many young people out there with certificates who have graduated, who remain unemployed, some of them for more than 10 years. Your government is working round the clock to create opportunities. And that is why in this budget you have seen the Minister of Finance take a bold step to allocate the larger chunk of the budget, 22% of the budget, into the economic sector of the country so that we invest in sectors that are able to produce jobs for our young people. The new Dawn administration is mindful that mining has been the monopoly of the backbone of the economy of this country. And that is why the Minister of Finance spelled out a steady regulatory regime in the mining sector to bring about attractiveness and stability in that sector. But the government is fully aware that going forward, we must harvest the low-hanging fruits in this economic equation. And that is why you have seen the Minister of Finance announce a credit facility window in the farming sector, that public service workers, those who are willing, can now access a credit since they don't qualify on FISC. But that this credit window is not limited to public service workers. It is also open to those who may want to borrow but will not be on FISC. This is in recognition of the fact that a genuine diversification of our economy from the monopoly of mining is agriculture. And to emphasize that point, the government has put measures very straightforward and clear. Number one, encourage production of fertilizers locally. In 2021, a ton of fertilizer was costing $1,200. In 2023, a ton of fertilizer the government is purchasing from $1,200 in 2021, it's purchasing $865 in 2023. That is progress. It means with a lowering cost of fertilizer, more farmers are able to access fertilizer, they are able to buy fertilizer, informing the cost of production, meaning the cost of production will also go down. When the cost of production of the maize goes down, the consequence is that there will be more production of maize, and with more production of maize, supply will outstrip demand and therefore influence positively affordable pricing of maize meal. There is no magic involved. It is just doing and putting in place rational policies. So as we speak, D-compound fertilizer has been distributed to all the districts of the country as early as July. We last saw this, I don't know how many years ago. Certainly not the last 10 years or so. Farmers used to receive FISC pack as late as February, when in fact the maize has ripened in the fields. This is a reality of the moment. So, no imports of D-compound fertilizer. On the 26th of June 2023, the President launched the construction of a urea production plant, which is poised to feed our national average requirement for urea fertilizer and produce beyond to become a net exporter of fertilizer in the region. the cost of production of maize is bound to collapse. The price of mealie meal is bound to respond positively. The present pricing of mealie meal is not permanent. It is not permanent. The government has also ensured that the production base is expanded by the credit facility I've spoken about. But I want to indicate this because in Zambia we like sometimes politicking. We have heard some people say the new Dawn administration wants all citizens to become farmers. No, that is not the situation. There must be division of labor. There are those who are miners, there are those who are teachers, there are those who are police officers, there are those who are journalists. We have different occupational placements. But the government is saying farming is something that many people can do even when they are employed formally to do something else, because farming is an informal program. We are not saying everyone should become a farmer, but we are saying farming now, by increasing the price of maize from 180 to 280, farming has become a genuine business in Zambia to gain a decent income. So if you are a teacher, you are a nurse, you are a police officer in a rural area, why should you put on your household budget a line to buy mealie meal when you can just go nearby the headman and they give you a piece of land? Then you come and borrow from the credit window. You produce maize so that you stop buying mealie meal, and the surplus you are able to sell to FRA and you get an extra income. What is wrong with that? Anyway, it's understandable. The country was in wrong hands. The country had a leadership which viewed farmers as villagers. So we encourage farming because we find ourselves in a rare privilege that in the region we have a comparative advantage that 45% of water of the SADC is in Zambia. And that is why in this budget 2023, the Minister of Finance has announced that government will spend more than 500 million kwacha to invest in development of farming blocks, irrigation, water harvesting, because we have arable and fertile soils that we must take advantage of. So the government is calling on citizens to engage in this newfound mine agriculture so that we can get a spin-off benefit of our population dividends. Well, this is our first briefing. I should not say many things.
Ladies and gentlemen, the minister is ready to take your questions if you have any. Do you have any questions? Anyone with a question? It appears there are no questions, Honorable Minister, so can we go